A journey into the underground with Adam X. Sonic Room Podcast. Hi, I'm Adam X. Welcome to today's episode where I'm joined by Canadian industrial techno legends Orphx. Orphx made their way into the industrial noise scene in the early to mid-90s, releasing on legendary labels like Malignant and Hands. Later, in the end of the Zero decade, they teamed up with My Sonic Groove imprint where they developed a fresh, unique techno sound infused with industrial influences. Their legendary live hardware sets have made many rounds at the most respected techno and industrial clubs and festivals around the world. This is a fun chat between great friends of mine. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
What's up, Rich? What's up, Christy?
Hey, how's it going?
It's great to see you guys as always. my dear friends, yes. You guys for a long time now. And thank you for coming on the show. It's, I think a lot of people out there are like, why is he interviewing them? They're not been around since the 90s, but I think a lot of people in techno don't know that. You know, in the techno scene, people think you guys came around like in the late out decade. And the fact is you guys have been around since the 90s.
That's right. Yes.
And, right now, the show, I'm interviewing a lot of people from the 90s, and that's my shtick. And let's take it back. Let's introduction into the music for you guys, and you guys, how you met, and were you guys making music before you guys met? Let's hear it. What are you guys listening to? The events that you guys were going out when you were younger that influenced you musically. Mm-hmm. What was going on up in Hamilton, Canada?
So we met in high school, at the end of high school, and I think we formed a band really quickly after meeting.
Yeah.
As I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both had bought synths. We kind of messed around on our own.
That was how we connected, synthesizers.
Yeah. And and shoegaze music.
Mm-hmm.
So we formed a shoegaze band together with a couple other people. Same time we were listening to techno and industrial music.
What year was
this?
Is
like 92, 91?
91. Yeah.
And were you already going to raves and techno parties in Toronto at that time?
I think by 92 we were going to raves, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yes, and at that time there was still like a pretty vibrant scene there. Like so it was all warehouse parties where you'd get like the flyer and have the telephone number. You call up on the night. They tell you to go to some location. They tell you to go to another location where the bus is. They bus you out to
the amazing time period for all that stuff for sure. That was the underground, the true underground. It was such an exciting, and that was like that all over the States, like in New York, in LA. Yeah, you call that number, or somebody be standing at a phone booth somewhere, and then you'd go there. And they would give you this little map, and then you're like, now where am I going? It's not even there where you went.
Such an adventure, right? Every time you go out, it's like, wait, what's going to happen?
Yeah. And am I actually going to get there or not?
How'd you find out about these parties? Did you have friends that were already going to it, or was it just some random thing you found out about in a record shop or something?
You get flyers. Get flyers at record shops.
You get flyers from one party to find out about the next one.
Yeah.
But we also had like my friend, our friend Hamadri, who ran Switch Records. He was like maybe a year older. I
didn't even know that you guys knew him, Margie. That's crazy.
We knew him in high school.
Mentioned that to me.
Yeah. We knew him in high school, and he was starting to he was sort of ahead of us in terms of getting gear and making music. So I remember learning how to use a sampler at his place, and then he was working with our friend Dave Foster. So that's how we connected with Dave, and they were making music as Test-E, so releasing on +8 Probe, and that was we were just sort of like, how are these guys doing this?
So you knew Dave when he did Test-E the Wipe?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know you guys went that far. That's crazy.
Yeah, so he was at another high school nearby. And he worked in a record store downtown. So we would see him in the record store. And we're like, who's this weirdo? He looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, totally.
And then you guys are from Hamilton, right? I mean, you were originally from Hamilton? That's what you guys grew up.
Yeah, just outside the city, yeah.
And then there was Oliver Barkovich, right, from Steel City Records. He's also a fellow Hamiltonian, right?
Yeah.
And
So
then you
we
guys hang out.
learned about
I remember you mentioned him in the past that you guys know him.
through Dave.
And
Was that from
Hamadri.
the same time period? Was that later on?
Same time period, yeah, because like Dave was also releasing some stuff on Steel City, so then we learned about the label basically through him, and there was also like parties that I think Oddie organized in Hamilton at the time, so that we would go to some of those.
Okay, so now knowing about the scene and about techno, and pretty early on, actually, very early on, what made you guys go more into the noise direction and the industrial direction? Why did you take that road and not?
We were immersed in that as well. Like, it was like that time period when you're just learning about everything that's going on and like listening to like college radio and
It was the shoegaze connection thing.
but everything was shoegaze,
too,
industrial, and techno.
and
Those
noise.
three
So we're into like experimental music too. So like tape music and Hafler Trio and Steve Reich and
Skinny Puppy. I
Skinny
think that
Puppy
was sort of
industrial
like a
stuff as well
shared
too. Yes,
interest
that was
or
our
like
when
a
we
love
first
for
met.
both of us, and that was kind of like a gateway to a lot of that music was Skinny Puppy.
Yeah, because I remember like in New
And
York,
Nitzareb.
Sure.
Yeah.
as I've mentioned to you guys in the past, I was a late bloomer in the industrial EBM thing. I mean, almost missed it probably throughout even the 90s, really just started getting into it late 99, early 2000. And I remember, though, in the early 90s that many of the people, even like Reed Truth, who was part of our crew, they were all coming from the industrial scene and they were leaving that scene because techno was the more, to a lot of people, that was the more interesting thing. Now, of course, there were a lot of loyalists that stayed into industrial and EBM, but it seemed like there was like a really big, like mass exodus of people coming from that scene into techno and not going back to it, actually. People,
Right.
Even people like Richie Horton and people like that who were also listening to a lot of industrial that kind of just never really went back to that after that. So it's pretty amazing that you guys stayed with the industrial noise thing and you guys really didn't start doing techno stuff till into the early 2000s, mid 2000s, right?
I'd say like 98, like the first release on Hands, I think was 97 or 98, at a 10-inch. And that was like the first attempt to do something in a techno kind of vein.
Definitely still very industrial compared to what was going on.
but influenced by Pansonic and people were kind of like approaching techno from this kind of more experimental angle. But back to what you were saying, I think like what we were listening to at that time period, like all that stuff just kind of blurred together. Like
we didn't really
techno
think
industrial
about it.
stuff, like the some of the radio shows we were listening to. I remember there was like a late night like video show and they would just play like everything called City Limits, and they would play everything across the board. Like Fat remembers this, like it'd be Pixies and then Sonic Youth and then Einsters and Neubauten and Nitzareb, Meat Beat Manifesto, just all mixed together in a pot. And so to our mind, this is just cool music.
Right.
Yeah, no, we didn't really make distinctions
and
at all.
you still go into raves. I mean, because raves started to go down a little bit, especially like in New York, for instance, like the cops started busting the parties.
Yeah.
So in Toronto, and they were doing raves in Hamilton as well, right?
Yeah, but Steel City stuff. Yeah.
So it was a scene going down. Like you were going to raves in '92, and by '94, was it going down and also in Toronto?
Maybe, but no, I think there was still like 96, 97. I remember still going
starting to climb
to stuff.
By then, I mean, I think that's when you moved away, like maybe 97 or 98. But then it was starting to taper off and move into clubs.
Were you guys still going to techno parties at that point? Or you already kind of like, all right, now we're in this noise thing and industrial thing, and we're kind of, this is our thing?
Yeah, I think, as the project took off, like we started Orphx in end of 93, and then we started playing shows over the next couple of years. And as that took off, I guess we were going out to raves a little less and kind of more focused on.
Did you ever go with Hamadre and David to any of the +8 Richie Horton parties in Detroit?
No, I remember them going down, and I think like Hamadre invited me, and I was sort of like, I'm not sure if I want to go. If I want to cross the border, what's going to be like?
I think we were nervous
some
about
of the best
it.
Parties
I know.
Yeah, for sure. Disappointed that we missed out on that.
I wish I could have went to them, but we were busy doing our own amazing parties in New York at that time. Yeah, that was quite the period. So you guys formed Orphx in '94. I think it was even spelled differently in the beginning, right?
End of '93. Yeah, we had a different spelling. We took out some vowels.
What is the name and how did it all come about?
Orphx. Okay, so that was sort of like a mix of different ideas. So so it was originally a trio, my friend Aaron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he and I were studying philosophy and like religion, and he was like, oh, we were looking at these like religious cults, and there was like the cult of Orpheus from ancient Greece, and we're like, oh, this is really cool. And he was like, proposed this name as sort of like a spin on like the Orphx, like the worshippers of Orpheus. But like, fucked around with the spelling to come up with something a little different.
Yeah.
And it started originally just as like a cassette project for a while, right?
Yeah. We released a couple of cassettes, and then he and I started like a tape label to put out our music and like other projects from around the area.
And a lot of that stuff, if I remember, came out on Hospital or Mannequin, right? One of them put it.
They reissued that stuff,
Reissued,
like the really early stuff in 2017, I think.
And at that point, were you guys familiar with what was going on with like Hans and Anson? I don't know if Hans was out yet at that point, but Anson was already kind of getting into it with the rhythmic noise thing. Were you guys knowing about that whole scene that was coming out of Europe?
Mid 90s, Hans in Toronto, there was a record shop that was carrying Hans stuff.
I think they actually got in touch with us, like, because we did the first CD we did was on Malignant Records out of somewhere in the States, and that was in '96, I think. And then I think Hans heard that record and got in touch with us, and so we were just kind of learning about them and that whole scene.
And then when was your first trip over to Europe to play?
98.
98, yeah.
Yeah.
Christy had gone over to do a master's in Scotland, and then I'd started to release stuff with Hans. And then we were like, okay, maybe we can organize a tour. And there was like a festival that Anson was doing, or a lot of the bands were playing at in the Netherlands. And then there was these parties in like the south of Germany, Nuremberg, that was connected to Hans. And then we got a third gig in Stockholm, opening for Pansonic. And that was just through like a guy I knew, Mikael Stavostrand, who released on Cold Meat Industry. So, because we had spent like those years, like 93 to 98, just like trading tapes with people, writing, letters to people, and we made a lot of connections that way.
I think Pansonic was supposed to be at the Nuremberg Festival as well,
They
too.
were, but they missed their flight.
Yeah, they missed their flight, so that we didn't get to play with them in Nuremberg. But I remember when we first arrived, and we were all kind of nervous because it's our first European, trip, and we arrived and we kept doing circles around the train station because the guys picking us up were expecting two like big guys in leather jackets with guitars, and we were like, the two of us, and then the two of us, with our like little case of like.
Did you have the experience of driving down the Autobahn and looking at the sign that kept saying Elsford every other exit and thinking it was a city? That happened in the beginning. It was like, oh, is this a big city? Yeah, Elsford. Like 92 when I came, yeah. You mentioned the tape thing, and let's talk a little bit about that. That's actually very interesting because in techno, we had DJ mixtapes. And that was a very, very big thing for DJs that were playing out. Like my brother used to sell so many mixtapes. He could pretty much run a store just based on that.
Right.
What was it like in the industrial scene and people trading tapes? Because this is a little bit different than the mixtape culture coming out of the techno scene. Like this is pretty much people that were not really getting signed or selling their music, not selling their music, but passing their music out to labels and to A&R people at labels to get signed. Mm-hmm. And instead it was more of a DIY thing where you would create your own artwork and was there a network where you were trading, let's say, 50 tapes with a shop somewhere in Europe or maybe a distributor or something? Mm-hmm. Was it really... How many tapes would you run off? Did you have, and also did you have? It was
Exquiteria, probably, right?
Were you having them made professionally? Like, were you sending them out to a place to dub them, or you were making them from home?
Yeah, we just did it all at home. Like we did like maybe editions of 100, 50 or 100, and just dub them all at home. Like make all the artwork,
by hand,
duplicate in real time, dubbing.
Yeah,
totally, man. Yeah,
oh.
Yeah. A lot of time spent on that,
and hand making the little inserts and everything.
Yeah. So it was like a whole world, right? That tape culture, which I guess came out of like kind of the late '80s. and was still pretty healthy at that point.
But for distributing, it was Exquateria. It was the tape label that you and Aaron had.
Yeah. So because a lot of artists in that scene have their own label. So we quickly were like, okay, let's do that too. So we made a label. We started distributing other people's tapes and releasing other projects.
The label for the actual tape.
Oh no!
Yeah, I mean no, like a tape label.
Oh,
yeah. So we put out these small editions and then just like sell them at shows and then send them to artists that we thought were cool or labels that we thought were cool and trade stuff back and forth and make connections that way. And that led to that first CD on Malignant. But yeah, it was a really, really cool time period and really fun to just like discover that there was this whole world and that people were doing this. I was like, okay, we could do this too.
Yeah, I never was a really big fan of the tape format, I have to say. I still have bags of cassettes from mixtapes and all that.
I still love them.
But when you listen to them, a lot of them deteriorated where the highs are missing and stuff because they really do deteriorate.
Some like the lower quality tapes will deteriorate, but the better quality ones they'll last. Like I still have stuff that sounds pretty decent.
Metal tapes.
Yeah, Type 2 or whatever.
Was that what you guys were sending out to people? Were you using proper metal tapes?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I think we cheaped out on some stuff, but
and then you guys finally hit the CD format. Yeah. That was with Hands.
Yeah, I remember being so excited.
That was Malignant.
Malignant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was a whole new world. And then vinyl was always weird in that scene. Like even when I got into it, I mean, Ansem was doing a lot of vinyl, like Hyman and stuff like that.
And Hands, yeah.
The people seemed very turned off to records for some reason in the industrial scene. Like I think there was almost like a lapse of probably not much of anything coming out, whether it was EBM or industrial, from like 91 till almost the end of the decade, except for like the Hyman stuff and maybe Udo and Hands put a few things out on vinyl.
Oh, for sure. I think like all the Hands releases up until the 2000s, or even into the 2000s, there was a vinyl edition of each release. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they supported that format, but I feel like CD became the dominant format in the kind of industrial world for sure. Yeah, after cassettes. I don't know why that is, why vinyl was a bit more rare, but...
Yeah, it'd be crazy because in techno, you'd sell, for every one CD, you'd sell 100 vinyl, right? Like an album would come out even from a big name producer in techno and you would sell 2 CDs and then you would sell 100 of the album on vinyl.
Well, I guess people were still playing vinyl back then.
Yeah,
right? So
everybody was, there wasn't really... I guess there was probably some sort of CD mixes back then. I'm not really aware of what was... If people were using CD mixes in the in the 90s, know a little bit more in the early 2000s when I started messing about with it.
Yeah.
So that's the tape thing is definitely wild. That's super interesting there. And so now we enter the 2000s and you guys are chugging along now with Hands and putting out a lot of stuff with Udo. And you started coming and playing a bit more over here, and then you wound up also on Anson in like 2004, right? You started recording for them. And then you were playing in other places. You were going to Spain, right? I remember you guys playing like some festivals in Spain.
Yeah, there'd be the odd gig here and there, like, but that became like the rhythmic noise scene became like the place where we could play regularly, like you know. Which would only be like,
Machine and
a little tiny tour each year or whatever. But
and were you guys
still
following techno music the whole time? From the 90s
I feel like our interest in techno started to wane into the 2000s because there just wasn't that much stuff that we were excited about. Like I feel like in the late 90s. Big
into techno-ish, like the Pansonic was really big for us.
Sure.
And but and I would put that in that category, but. In terms of other releases, I'm not.
Yeah, I feel like it was like Chain Reaction, Basic Chain.
Chain Reaction,
Sacco, and Pansonic.
Sacco.
When were you guys into that stuff in the 90s or
in the late 90s?
Yeah, and that like carried on to
And that's how I discovered you guys because I remember clearly Machine Fest was 2000. Well, I don't know which year it was. I'm going to say 2008.
Correct. It was 2008 for sure.
And I went to Machine Fest, which is for the people out there that don't follow rhythmic noise and industrial so much, was an annual festival in West Germany around the Aachen area, and they had amazing bands and playing this really distorted electronic industrial techno stuff. and a lot of noise stuff as well. And then you guys went on, and I was familiar with the band because I was ordering some records to the shop. But then you guys came on and played this crazy industrial techno set that was just, it just stood out amongst everything that I had heard there. It was like dub techno mixed with industrial, and I was like, I gotta go meet these people. And I was like, that's it. I'm gonna go meet these people. I'm gonna introduce myself, and I'm gonna try to get a record out of them. And I was like, because I was really impressed, I have to say. It was like, and then we met, and then I remember it pretty well still, you guys. And I don't have a great memory. Probably people see and they think he's really sharp and he can remember everything, but actually, no, I don't actually. And you know, I remember you guys came to Berlin on that trip. And I took you guys out to Weekend Club in Berlin, which doesn't exist anymore. It was on the ninth floor. It was like a beatport party, but Mono Lake was playing.
Yeah, I recall that.
And you guys were in a Mono Lake, and that was for me, Robert. In Mono Lake, that was my shit in the out.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I mean, you
totally.
know, where and it's funny because I keep getting called out. I got not called out for this, but somebody made a funny comment on one of the podcast videos. He's like, you know, you tend to mention Aphex Twin in almost every one. Well, yeah, I'm mentioning Aphex Twin again. But in the out decade, Mono Lake was my Aphex Twin. That was the go-to. That was the inspiration right there.
Yeah, we were big into him as well too. So
you know, even just using Ableton and getting rid of all the hardware and Robert being involved in that. And so when we were hanging out, we went to go, you guys were also really big into the Mono Lake thing. And I think that was a really interesting period because techno was like minimal techno at that point. And it's not that there were very good records in minimal techno, but you had to sift through a lot. And my problem with that music was that I found it should be after hours music. It would be people playing it at the peak time at the parties. So there was this lull about the harder techno. And, you know, when I was hanging out with you guys, I was really pushing this industrial techno thing, but there wasn't really a market for it. You know, it's just bubbling up a little bit, but it took another year or two. And I put the first record out from you guys, the one that had the DJ Pete remixes and the Surgeon remix. And I mean, the record did good at that time, for sure. But I think if it would have came out 2 years later, it would have sold triple because that's when the scene started to take off. But that was your guys' first foot in the door into the techno scene. And I think I booked you guys the first time was at Maria Club, right? In Berlin?
Yeah.
And you guys played, was that the one, because you had a problem with the flight and Christy came.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think that was the one.
And Christy rocked out. We didn't really need you.
that was very
because that was with Mono Lake and TR101 when and Sleep Archive did the first ever live show together.
Yeah.
Right? And that was but did you come before? Did you guys play for me before that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, that was the first one.
No, because that's when I was in the UK, when I was teaching in the UK.
Yeah.
So that would have been the first Maria show was Christy.
Yeah, and I was pretty nervous about it because, when he missed the flight, I was like, oh, shit.
I said, am I able to share? Good luck.
Yeah.
Hope it goes well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you guys did after the first record, you did the what was it the second one, Blacklight, right?
Yeah.
And then you guys defined, and that was such a great period in my opinion for techno. It was coming out of minimal. Now there was a bit of a buzz going on. There weren't so many people making this kind of music. But you had Prologue Records and Donato Dozzi, Mike Parker, you guys. I was doing Traversal Wormhole, Function, and Sandwell District, and Milton Bradley. And you could actually follow all the techno artists at the time. And it was this kind of renaissance period that was just, for me, that 2010, 2011 period was just fucking brilliant, right?
Yeah.
And you guys honed in on this new sound. It was this kind of like deeper, druggier, tripped out. Not really even, it had like some sort of industrial elements, but it was definitely more on the techno thing.
For sure.
And then you guys started blowing up.
Yeah.
In the techno scene, people started recognizing it, right?
Yeah.
And you guys did Traces, which came out after on Sonic. And all of a sudden you guys just started getting the gigs and it was like, what was that like for you guys? Because you guys were making music for all this period, and it's almost like 15, 16 years in, and now you're cracking the techno scene.
Now people are listening. Yeah.
You're playing at Berghain and you're getting booked. And I don't remember the first gig you guys did in Berghain. I think it was like 2012, maybe?
2012, yeah. I think Trezor 2009 and Berghain 2012. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Trésor was early on. Yeah, and I brought that a whole frac rack modular system into the side of Trésor inside the cage.
Yeah. That was such a great period. Explain it. What was it like for you guys? Because you guys were coming into the scene.
Yeah, and we had we've been making something like techno since, again, like late 90s and trying to connect to that world, but like finding it really difficult to get gigs in large part because of the kind of minimal era that you're talking about, where we didn't fit in. We were too distorted, too dark for that sound. So techno promoters were just like, no, we're not really interested. And then so we were just kind of playing within that rhythmic noise scene, which was great. But we're always trying to like, okay, how can we make some connections to the techno scene that we're interested in? And so that actually 2008, that same year, there was like a CD, like a double CD thing that we did on Hands with a bunch of remixes. And I remember like I asked Surgeon, Sleep Archive, Fluxion, and who else? Another techno artist. Or maybe it was those three. I'm blanking now if there was more.
I think it was, yeah.
But that was like to try and, okay, like let's connect with these techno artists that we think there's some kind of common ground with. There's kind of more experimental side to all those artists, right? So that was our attempt to connect. And then, a few months later we met you, and I think we talked about this at the time, where you were coming from techno into industrial, and we're kind of going the other way.
Crossing the path.
Yeah.
And which was the name of my party in Berlin when I moved here.
Yes.
Remember. And yeah, that was what a great period that was. It was so refreshing. It was, I think, the first time in techno where it was some years where there was this really innovation, and it was because there was innovation in minimal techno. People got rid of their gear, and minimal techno was more like laptop-based music with Ableton, and you could hear the technology changing. But now you had this more rougher, tougher music, techno, and people kind of hungry, people waiting for something new, and it was phenomenal. And I guess he kind of paid a little less attention to the industrial scene, and I think Udo was probably a little unhappy that you guys came to me, but I wanted to really push you guys into the techno world, because he was working with you guys for a long time.
I think we were still playing all the industrial shows at that time too, though. It was nice because we were actually able to cross over a lot, because we already had that industrial scene, and then because of you, we were able to get into the techno, shows and clubs. But we still played those industrial festivals, and didn't.
It really is two different worlds. I like what I like about the industrial scene, and what I've always liked about it is that the people that go out to the music, they're like, it's a little bit more like rock based. It's like you go out as fans and you go listen to the music and you buy the merchandise and the people playing. It's not really like a nightlife club thing. And people are just going out to the party, and sometimes you just happen to be on the lineup, but they're going to go to that club anyway because it's the hot club like that kind, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're not sure when you're playing if those people in the audience actually even know who you are, or if they came really to see you. But in the industrial scene, you're always there with the crowd. And I mean, I even see it on the record sales when I put out music from you guys, or like Reese Fulber, Static Bloom, and the fan base. It's amazing. And I wish there was a little bit more like that in techno sometimes.
More dedicated fans.
Yeah, like dedication. Because like I said, there are people out there in techno, and there's people that love your guys' music, But sometimes you go to the party and you don't really know, you're like, are those people really into this, or they just here, and they go home and then they're listening to some Britney Spears or something. They have any idea, So it's, I wish I would have, because I almost had a way into the scene. I mean, I was getting into the industrial scene quite a bit, but the techno thing got so good in that early part of the teen decade that I didn't really pursue that avenue, and then I kind of left it, and I felt like I should have probably not have done that. I should have been in both, because I kind of love both for what it is, And I say the whole teen decade was pretty brilliant, and everything was going well. And then the pandemic happened, right? And then things changed.
It sure did.
Music got faster, went in a different direction. The word industrial didn't really been applied properly to what was happening now. It's like, that's not industrial. That's not what we're into, you know? Everything I go on Juno to look at new records and I'm like, oh, newest industrial techno record. I'm like, that's like 150 beats per minute, like hard trance music. Where is it? That's not industrial. You know? And
I guess, you know, we all knew that there was sort of like a bubble there that was going to eventually burst.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I kind of felt like I was like, wow, you can really see like the trend factor in techno where it's like, okay, this is past and now we're on to this. And that was a little weird, I think, you know, because we were used to that other scene, the rhythmic noise scene, where it's like, no, people just like, they develop this certain sound. You know, some people might argue, well, it's kind of stuck in a certain sound, but I think there's innovation and people playing with it. And it's just not so trend oriented. Whereas techno is like, okay, this is what people talk about, where it's like, okay, we're done with this, and now here's the new thing. And we only want the new thing. So
then the other thing that's the problem also in the techno scene these days that I notice a lot is that they don't rebook a lot of live acts anymore. This has really been down. You don't see a lot of parties. They don't, because the promoters, they don't want to pay the fee for a live act that's going to be an hour. You guys usually play an hour and a half. They want to book somebody that's going to play 3 hours. They'd rather put the money into that. It's a numbers game, right? And, you know, and that saddens me because you guys are probably one of the best live acts I've ever seen. You guys are
Oh, thanks, Adam.
You can't fuck with Orphx live.
yeah, I mean, and for, you know, there's some griping to be done about, you know, post-pandemic, but, you know, we're still lucky that we are getting gigs in the techno scene and
feel happy to
playing great shows. Like last weekend was great. And so, you know, we're still chugging along. We're all still chugging along.
So you guys, let's get into this. This is going to be a little different. So some people still think you guys are a couple over all these years, right? And it's interesting. I don't even put you in the hot seat, but it's an interesting question because I was talking to Function yesterday or 2 days ago about couples in the music industry and if they ever last when they're making music. Is there any couples that are still together after all these years? And we couldn't think of one. And most of them don't actually even make music ever again. They hate each other's guts and they never work together, right?
Yeah.
But you guys have actually managed the whole time. And I mean, for one minute, I didn't even know you guys weren't even together, if you remember. I was like, you guys haven't been together for that long. And what is it like when you're in a relationship? It's interesting because I'm sure a lot of people want to hear that because there's a lot of people that never been in a relationship with somebody in a music level, right? And what has it been like, you know, when you're making music and you're living together and you know, is there arguments or is it like being at work together and then you want to go home and be with someone, but you just work with them all day? Is it a job? Is it, you know, how does it work with you guys, and how was your guys' flow when you're working together from then to now?
Right.
I think like when at the point before we were not a couple, Rich had before we were living together, we were collaborating more on making music. And then when we were living together, like, 2000 to 2008 or so, Rich really kind of took the lead on music production, and I was in on live shows. And I think that there was something in, like what you're saying, and living together and, kind of, I think you had I don't know, a stronger lead on recording, and I just kind of like set back. I think I was working on my painting career
I would
and
say
whatnot
that
as well too. The main issue, I guess.
You were doing your painting career, and I was focused on the music.
Yeah, and so we were collaborating and sharing our ideas back and forth. But I would be, bringing my feedback into stuff that he was making, and then he would do the same with my art. So it kind of worked out well that way. But then when we separated, I actually found my own voice, I think, in creating music, and so then when we came together to make stuff after that point, I think we had we came in with our own visions, and then we
and this is the point where we started using.
I think it's better to have a separated space and not be in the same place, because if you're living together, you're like, oh, let's go in the room and make some music together.
Well,
maybe you want to make something, and then you sometimes the timing is off. It's probably better like you wake up in your place and you're like, I'm gonna make some stuff, and then you're doing something, and then you guys meet up and then you put it all together. It's probably a better flow, right?
Yeah, well, I think that we really enjoy jamming together. That's how we make music. Yeah. So we like that. And we did used to do that before we were living together. And then, like Rich said, we just, different things that we were focusing on. But yeah, I think it was good to have separate spaces as well too, so that, you have time to kind of, develop your own ideas. And then when we came together, we made something, more interesting, I think.
Well, you're the modular lady. He's the laptop guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like, I think it was 2008. Because a lot happened this year. That's when you got the modular system. So, and that's when we started collaborating again. And that had been like, I think 10 years since we'd worked on studio stuff together.
Yeah.
We'd just been doing the live shows together. But yeah, Christy came in with the modular system, and that kind of like changed how we made music.
Yeah. I think I got excited about that too. Like, I wasn't as excited about, the computer, as like
just using
a way of performing. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that as much. And I think when I discovered modular stuff in like 2008.
When did you guys first start using like computers for music? Were you guys using computers in the 90s, or we were just doing all hardware?
Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah, pretty late in the 90s. Until that point, it was all based around hardware. And then as the software got more kind of sophisticated, and especially when we got our hands on Ableton, then we built.
What version did you start on?
It was 5 or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 5 maybe.
Yeah, because
it was like early 2000s.
I got on 4. It was 2004 when I got on 4.
Yeah. And then because we were mostly playing in Europe, and we wanted to keep it pretty compact, so we were just taking like 2 laptops and some, like 1 synth and some extra gear, and we kind of based it all around Ableton.
So your guys' process normally, from what I know and from hearing you guys live, is that you do, when you guys are recording, it's more jam session. It's not like completely arranged in Ableton, right? When you're making tracks.
When we're recording together?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
For the most part, it's like, we jam and record it and then edit.
So sometimes you guys are playing for like 30 minutes, and then you go back and you chop it all out.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. More like a few hours.
Yeah, and then sometimes, there's the cases where someone's started something, we built around that. But I'd say most of the time, it's like, that's the process.
Well, you're working on stuff at home, and then you bring it to him, or vice versa?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes, yeah. But I think, more often than not, it's to get together and jam, and then then chop into that.
And then what about like when you guys are, because I never asked you guys this, what about when you guys are mixing down? Who's the mixer here?
Oh, Rich, he loves noodling over that.
I love arranging and getting into the fine details. Yeah, I love doing
It's torturous.
Yeah.
I do it.
I love it.
I like doing I really love doing remixes, so I can get into that. But when it's our own stuff, like I get to I don't know. I've a harder time when it's all my own or even our work.
I feel like your great skill is the sound design.
Yeah, I do the design. But I like mixing when I'm making like a remix. But then I think when it comes to our own stuff, I get too critical and I have a hard time making decisions. So, and he's really good at just being decisive about stuff too. So.
So you guys ever
Works
get
out
angry
well.
at each other when you guys are playing, and somebody does something wrong, and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, we used to do that more. I think
I feel like we don't anymore.
No, we don't. No, we're like much better at it now. Yeah. But we used to get like, that used to happen, for sure. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, no, I think we've like kind of got into a zone now where we're like much better at communication. So
what about when the sync is going out or something? You're not blaming it on each other, right? It's the machines.
We have had that happen before.
Yeah,
and then
I know about one.
You gotta roll with it.
And then you just gotta like, you gotta roll along with that.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes. It's gonna, it's inevitable. Sometimes shit just goes a little haywire.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun of playing live, right?
Yeah.
There's always something that fucks up. Yes.
So what direction are you guys going in? Because I've been asking you for music, as you know, and where's you guys' headspace now with everything that's going on? The music, so the high speeds, the 140s, people playing in. I mean, me, I never stepped into that. I did the 160 thing in the 90s, in the early 90s, like 93. And once I slowed back down, I never went back up. And you guys, how do you guys feel about the tempos that the music is at the moment, and the what do you think about what's out now musically, and what's been taking place since the pandemic's been over? What's your headspace?
I mean, I don't feel like either of us are too excited or paying much attention to what's been really popular in techno lately, but there's so much great music out there. You just gotta dig for it and find the stuff.
You gotta dig a lot, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of digging. It takes a lot of time from making music, which I find for myself. Sometimes like, maybe I should be making music instead of trying to find more music. But I have a passion to always know what's out there. And,
and you're DJing more.
Yeah, and DJing more on top of it. But I do want to make, I finally finished a record that's coming out in another week. But yeah, it's the motivation. I also find myself listening to a lot of old music for inspiration.
Yeah, that's, I think, normally where I'm going. I like listening to new stuff, but I'm actually usually more focused in on just making my own sounds, like sound design stuff, as Rich was saying. I'm just going to get into creating sounds and not really listening to, other stuff as much. But then, Rich will find something, he plays it for me, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But yeah, so you dig a little more than I do.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And I think for the music that we've been making post-pandemic, I feel like we've gone kind of back into the industrial sound in a lot of ways.
And we're experimenting more with
I was going to say, I've been
stuff,
pushing you to do a bit more techno, because I go back to the records from 15 years ago, and I think they're phenomenal, and I think that sound can still be revisited and even taken further.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts though with technology, techno, AI, and everything? Do you feel like you think there's going to be some music that we've never really heard yet still to come? Because I think for me, it feels like I've heard everything already. Like I don't hear anything that's like, I was saying this in another podcast, like a what the fuck moment, where something is just really blew my mind and was like, wow, I have never heard something like that before. And I'm kind of waiting for that. And I'm hoping that in this lifetime, I can have that feeling again that I once had many decades ago, What do you guys think? You think it's possible? You got all the modulars and all this crazy stuff. Is there something in those boxes that are going to come out one day? Some magical thing that no one's ever heard before? It's kind of been done. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I hold out the hope to hear something like that, just like you. I don't know. It's also maybe like to have that kind of experience is more like when you're just discovering music, we have these kind of like mind blown moments. But I know what you mean. Like there hasn't been something recently where it's like a kind of innovation where you're like, oh, this is really new, really, really fresh. But yeah, I'm hoping to hear that or to create that. We'll see.
I feel like in doing that, it means, sometimes you get into a comfortable way of working, right? And you need to be able to have the time to get out of your comfort zone and just do something completely different. I'd love to be able to have like, a couple months on a residency or something like that, to be able to do that sort of thing, which I've, feel like that I haven't had like the time to devote to being able to do something to, that would result in something brand new.
Throw them in a loop.
Yeah.
Make some house music.
But I'd love to be able to just like have, a couple months of just.
Do you guys ever like have debates about what direction to go and even kind of butt heads on it? Like maybe we should do this, and then you're like no, and then vice versa, and trying to figure out a way, or you just keeping it moving.
I don't know. I don't think we have too many conflicts about that. It's more like,
I think like post-pandemic, like, I think both of us kind of lost my excitement a little, after the pandemic. And then I was listening to the music that we had, and this is part of why it's taking so long for new stuff.
I'm
It's
waiting-
just
I'm
like
waiting for my
I'm just
mirror
like
to get
I mean, this doesn't feel exciting right now. You know, it doesn't or the the stuff we had. We've got new stuff on the go, but it just was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. And
I think it was in part also because of the whole pandemic experience and like making dance music when no dance floors existed.
yeah, it was really hard.
Really weird. Yeah.
I agree with that. It's also, I don't know for you guys, but for me, I need to be playing out and playing to audiences and really good parties for that inspiration.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, that's where all the inspiration comes from.
But did you guys have that when you were making like industrial and noise? Were you guys playing gigs and getting that same feeling, or do you felt, because I always felt like that would be a little bit more disconnected. You don't play all the time. You don't have large crowds to play to, and then you guys are thrust into playing in some of the best clubs in the world. I mean, you guys have played a lot of amazing venues and way bigger, and then you really need that because it's almost like a drug. It's an addiction to go and play to 500 people, 1,000 people, festivals, and then you need that to want to create. It's like it's a hunger to fucking make more music and whatnot,
Well, you had me thinking of like early days when we didn't have that experience to draw on, but it was more about the music, which again, we were in our teens where it's all
loads
fresh.
of time on our hands too,
Yeah, tons of time.
And it was less distraction, we're on phones all day long. I don't know.
That's also different too.
Yeah, I go home, I'm buying records a lot again, and I have a turntable, and I'm no mix at home. I just put records on because I like to play records, and because I find I'm more connected to music when I'm actually putting a record on. Yeah. But then I put a record on and then I'm on my phone. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't really listen to that. Put the needle back. Then 10 times later.
You got to actively be like putting that aside.
Or it's like
it's so
making
addictive.
music. Do you shut the internet off in your computers when you guys are making music or working together?
Generally, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Phone, turn it off. Like literally turn it off. Like I need to like train myself to have to do that because I don't have the discipline. I'm like, in 5 minutes, I made that arrangement. Oh, the phone, what's going on? Oh, the news. It's like you're constantly bombarded by something. And
we did have like some experimentation that we were doing for Live Lab that kind of triggered some new work as well too. This is like a neurology, music in the mind, experimental, like it's a research center, I guess. And they're studying performance and music. And so we've been doing some shows for their space, connected to research on sound as well. And I think those have been quite good at kind of triggering different ways of working. And we've got another one coming up this next spring. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So that's like a way to working with like, moving sound around the space or, the thing we did last year, they had like constraints on like how we made the music. Like we had to keep changing kind of the rhythm because they're studying like how people respond. Another one, we're doing stuff with infrasound, like below 20 hertz. So these have been all these opportunities to do like more experimental music and more experimental approaches. And that's been like a source of inspiration for sure.
Yeah, and then that kind of comes back into, the
Well, you're an amazing art
Techno
designer,
so
and you should also be probably doing more AV stuff for the shows, no? I mean...
I've always got loads of ideas for that, but then there's just so little time.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to like manage all of that.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
So thank you guys for coming on. And so,
thank you.
Hope you guys are having a good time while you're here in Europe. It's nice to connect with you guys here.
Yeah.
Enjoy the gigs, and we're gonna hang out, I guess, after we're done with this podcast.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about Stuart on the weekend. We're doing the 8-hour improv.
Yeah. Let's how's that going?
So I'm excited about what's going to come up for that.
Pretty excited, getting in the zone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so improvised, and I've seen it. I went to one of them. I saw the one with Dasha, Luke Slater, Polygana, Rose, and that was it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think I watched part of that online.
And Speedy J, of course, who's putting it together, Yoakum. And it was mind-blowing, actually. And I was there. It was going on for 6 hours. I think I caught like 3 hours of it. And I wish that they actually put some of that music out, because actually that was kind of a what the fuck moment. I heard some stuff that was some really original sounding stuff going on there. I wonder how it would transform if they would have put it back onto vinyl, though, and if you were able to play it out. Sometimes things sound, maybe you just have to be there
in the moment. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the preparation like for that? Because that's a pretty intense thing where you're playing and you've never all worked in an this is literally improvised. You guys have never been with these people in the room, and do you even get like a sound check for 2 hours with them to do it, or
I think we get an hour sound check.
Just an hour.
Couple.
Wow.
That's a
Couple hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
gotta set everything up.
You got to work out the bugs, make sure we're all in sync.
We chatted.
That's
So
the goal.
yeah, we're playing with Surgeon and Regis and of course Speedy J. Yeah.
I wish I could be there for that. That's phenomenal. These are some of the techno heroes of the last decades. What does that feel like?
We're
Pretty great,
We're,
yeah.
we're pretty excited
Not
about
that you
it,
guys
I
are
gotta
any
say.
lesser than them.
No, but I mean, like,
we're
it's
so
amazing.
when we were
excited.
talking about this before, like, wouldn't it be great to play this thing? And I mean, if I had to choose a lineup, it would be this lineup, right?
Yeah.
I said that, I was like, wow.
So
I'm very happy for you guys.
And we
for
did
that.
do a collab with Yoakum with Speedy J.
like an online one,
Yeah,
You did something
over the
with them before.
pandemic. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, like a remote thing, like where we were in Canada and he's in
Yeah.
Rent. No,
Okay,
it's
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be a little nervous, but then Yoakum, I think, because Yoakum is in control of all of it. So if you're
Yeah.
making something and it sounds, maybe that it's not fitting, that he's not going to.
Yeah,
anybody, not just you guys.
He can edit. He can edit. Yeah. We were joking. We had a little online meeting, and we were joking about that.
Cole might just want to throw something in to fuck you up.
Hope so.
Yeah. That would be good. See, that might make throw things in a different, direction, which would be fun.
So are you guys going to be on the table on one side, or you're going to play on one side? You're going to play on one side?
I assume we're going to be on the one side because we're like sharing a mixer and in our setup, like I have
We're like a
different
unit.
setup than I would normally have, but Christy has the modular. And,
So just the five of you guys, right?
yeah. But it's cool because like we started in improvisation, like that's how we began
Yeah.
working, and we used to like improvise with like a group of people in the town where we started, and so it's like to have this opportunity is like it feels like
Kind of coming full circle.
Yeah. I think it's going to probably be just as great as the one that I heard with them. With
No pressure.
Yeah. No, I don't think so, because I think you guys are going to be. I watched how they were doing it, and everybody seemed very relaxed about it. Actually, everybody was just kind of chilling, and you could even take a break. I think all Rose stepped off for like 15 minutes and came back. And,
Well, during 8 hours.
Yeah,
You gotta
it's
take
8
a break.
hours.
Yeah, it's 8 hours, man.
That's a full day's job there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully, the pay is not minimum wage. So again, thank you guys
Yeah,
for coming
thanks,
on.
Adam.
Have a great gig, and
Yeah, cheers.
I'm gonna catch you both soon. Sonic Room Podcast.